Tonight, Taboo Conspiracy 2 has come up with an entirely new way to bust the globe.
Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Playing a Blinder with me, the Creaky Blinder, and tonight we're going to be talking about whales.
Oi, what are you talking about, Creaky? This isn't all about whales, it's about whales. Good grief. Quick thanks to my amazing patrons. With massive appreciation to all my patrons, including new patrons Eric Hare, Timo, Warren J, Cheese Mondo, Brian A. Reed and Mr. Bozo Head, and my latest patrons Thomas B and Sven Arne Grimson. Thank you all so very much. Right, well before that Welsh bloke comes back, perhaps we better get on with it. Okay, Taboo Conspiracy 2, roll VT.
Hopefully you have already watched the Globebusters Pro interview between Bob and James.
No, I generally don't have Total Tripe on my watch list.
In that interview, James, a former Navy sonar technician, said that modern sonar could monitor objects over 1,000 miles away.
There are different types of sonar, active and passive. Are you sure you know which is which?
And that there was no ability for a submarine to hide behind a supposed curvature acoustic shadow.
Nope, you don't know which is which. The image you're showing, sonar imagery, is made using active sonar, where you're sending out sound signals which are reflected back, just like bats use to navigate. Whereas tracking another sub uses passive sonar, i.e. you're listening to the noise it makes. There would be no shadow.
Since then, 3 other technicians have confirmed the same, that everything related to sonar is flat, and there is no acoustic Earth curvature shadow.
Again, you're showing images from active sonar imagery. The sound source is on the left, so you get shadows to the right. That's not the same as tracking a submarine. If you're trying to track a submarine, the last thing you're going to want to do is send out really loud pings so it knows you're doing it.
Even Wikipedia recognizes that sonar can travel over 1,000 miles.
Sound does travel very well through water, but it depends on a few things. The weather, the temperature, the pressure, the salinity, and so on. And at a certain depth, you get that certain ideal. And with low enough frequency sounds, they'll go along, they'll bounce and refract along that layer, that channel, the SOFAR channel. The US developed a system called SOSUS, S-O-S-U-S, which was a sound surveillance system. And that would track or attempt to track Russian subs by passive sonar, i.e. they listened to them. If you're listening, it's because you hear the sound, so there is not going to be a shadow. That channel follows a certain depth, which is following the curve of the Earth.
Acoustic shadows are a real thing, but apparently the curvature refuses to make one.
Because the curve isn't in the way. The sounds are following around a layer in the water. It's not going to bump into the curve.
But God's creations are many times more amazing than technology.
Oh dear. Here we go.
According to this article from the Daily Mail, a whale's song can be heard by another whale 4,000 miles away.
Very interesting. And what has that got to do with the curve of the Earth?
A humpback whale singing in the Caribbean, for example, can be heard by a fellow whale off the west coast of Ireland more than 4,000 miles away. 80-foot-long fin whales, second only in size to the blue whale, can make low-frequency moaning sounds beyond the range of human hearing that also travel thousands of miles.
The key word there is frequency. Whales make sounds, their songs are from about 30 hertz to 8,000 hertz, 8 kilohertz. The reason being, they want those sounds to travel as far as possible. They're not looking for a reflected image. The whales use low frequencies because that propagates better through the water over longer distances. With sonar, they use frequencies 50 to 100 kilohertz if they're going for distance. 50 to 100 as opposed to 8. That's much higher. And if they're trying to do sonar imagery, like the image you showed earlier on of the boat on the seabed, they use much higher frequencies, up to 1 megahertz, 1,000 kilohertz. The problem with that is it doesn't go very far.
Now that is beautiful. Checking the curvature drop on engineering software.
Oh, God.
Yes, this is verified by AutoCAD. The curvature drop at 4,000 miles is 1,669 miles. A target hidden height of 1,669 miles.
The issue is that you think that there should be a shadow at all. On your sonar imagery, at those very high frequencies, it's blasting sound and looking at the reflection. It's not going to get a reflection from the bits behind where there was sound. But sound will carry through the water, as I said, ideally at that SOFAR depth. It will just follow the water at that depth around the world.
That's one huge acoustic shadow.
And you are talking a huge pile of
The accuracy of the alleged target hidden height is confirmed by this Earth curvature calculator as well.
I'm not disputing the amount of the curve. I'm disputing why you should even think it comes into it.
So don't come onto my channel and lie claiming that we flat earthers got the math wrong. We didn't.
No, I won't come on your channel and say you got the maths wrong, because you haven't. What you've got wrong is failing to understand that sound with a low enough frequency will follow its way through the water, obeying Snell's law and getting refracted and bounced around the curve.
But let's check to see how tall that supposed Earth Bulge would be between those two wells 4,000 miles apart. According to this Earth Bulge height calculator, there should be a Earth Bulge height between those 2 points that's 495 miles tall.
You flirts seem to think there's a bloody great mountain in between. It's not. It's just the curve of the sphere that you are stood on top of.
Where is the acoustic shadow from this unbelievably tall mountain? It doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't exist because it shouldn't exist. And it doesn't exist. Which is great, because it doesn't exist, and that's as we expect.
It seems that whales don't care about an imaginary curvature.
Well, they certainly don't care about a bloody flat Earth.
We all know that the globe propagandist is going to claim refraction.
Because sound travelling through water obeys Snell's law, and it refracts, perhaps?
And what about a selenelian, where both the moon and the sun are above the horizon during a lunar eclipse?
Why don't you just let me do it, Mr. Sensible? At least they'd be able to understand me because I haven't got an accent.
What'd you say?
Geometrically, that should not be possible. But what's the globe propagandist's excuse? Can you guess? Refraction saves the globe again.
Refraction is a known thing. The sun physically sets before it visibly sets. It visibly rises before it physically rises. Because of refraction, obeying Snell's law.
Refraction of sunsets and sunrises is also the explanation as to why a lunar eclipse has a reddish hue, if you can imagine that. Yeah, the sunsets on Earth jump onto the moon. Ridiculous.
Read up on it. We know that light gets bent and refracted. That's what gives us rainbows, rather than some wobbly promise made by some medieval god. But anyway, the light gets bent and refracted. Different wavelengths, colours, by different amounts. When you get a total lunar eclipse, the red wavelength gets bent and refracted by just the right amount to light the moon with a reddish-orangey tinge.
And what about our repeatable experiment where we flat earthers can zoom in on a horizon that's further than 11.22 miles away when the globe physical horizon should have been under 1.9 miles?
Look, your royal excitableness, refraction is a thing. Just drop a straw into a glass of water and see how the image of that straw is bent and refracted. It's known about. You can calculate it. You can use Snell's law. We're not just making this stuff up, you know. And the fact that you may not accept it doesn't mean that it's not so.
Again, the propagandists will claim refraction.
It's
Refraction is the magical cure-all that fixes all of your lack of curvature problems.
Is it? I must get a jar for Mrs. Sensible.
How do you maintain this illusion of a curvature that you have never seen and which cannot be measured in any realistic manner? How can you believe in a pressurized atmosphere surrounded by an unbelievably powerful vacuum?
Getting sidetracked, Match. I thought we were talking about whales. And I've never, ever, ever come across a vacuum that is unbelievably powerful.
You can only cite your unfortunate, credulous faith in NASA. What a silly religion you have.
So why are you throwing religion at us as some sort of insult?
God bless you all.
Ah, that will be because you are religious and you're unable to debunk the science. Taboo Conspiracy, we can read you like a book. You attack science because you feel it threatens your religion. Unfortunately, you don't know enough about science, or can't learn enough, or can't even just read a wiki page and understand enough about science to actually argue a good point. It's total fail. Well, I guess that's about enough of that. Any last words, Creaky?
No, I'm not saying anything.
Oh, he's miffed because I commented about his accent. Never mind, pal. I'll get a translator for next time. And until next time, stay sensible.
Shut up and sit down.